What a wild ride this season has been. So currently we are right after the new nerf on the Iron Man hands, or Iron Hands for short, and the hover jetpack. So this thing has gotten hit several times, but it is still incredibly busted in the jetpack. The hands are still incredible as well. But let's give you guys a quick recap, if you're new here, as to like how we play the strategy, why we got how we got here, and how these changes have affected us. So I'm going to link you guys real quick. If you haven't checked out our videos yet, in the description you will see our first one right there. You want to look for that thumbnail. On the left hand side you see all of our kind of like base loadout. The real core of our strategy is the jetpack, shield, and auto turret. Just the way that you can move around and block damage and deal damage simultaneously when you're in like that little range bubble of the auto turret, very, very powerful. When you mix in secondary mobility, at the time it was shockwaves before we had the shuri claws, that way when you are in trouble and you are out of jetpack fuel, you're not necessarily dead. And an actual DPS weapon, at the time we were using the striker, either auto or burst, helps you really destroy opponents, when they were starting to run away from you, when they realize, hey, I'm not going to win this fight without actually changing something. And we've since then of course replaced those with the Iron Man's repulsor, Iron Man's hands, or the Iron Hands, as we just call them. So that was definitely the core of our strategy. Fly around, block, let the auto turret do its work, make them run away from us, and then we kind of blast them in the back. Then we got the Iron Hands last week, and those were crazy. Upon receiving those, playstyle kind of changed. Those auto target, they are very strong. It basically turned it from having to stop and aim to now you really never had to stop at all. You could just kind of fly around and shoot, and it was incredibly powerful. We all know how strong it was and how strong it still is. So what did they change? They reduced the damage on the Iron Hands from 30 to 24, and they gave it a headshot multiplier of 1.5 to simply 1. So there is no longer a headshot multiplier whatsoever. There's two more things. The range was also reduced from 50 meters to 40 meters with the auto tracking, and the actual auto tracking reticle itself, like how powerful the auto tracking is, has been reduced by 15% as well. So you hear all that, and on paper it sounds like, wow, that was kind of gutted, pretty decently. And in gameplay, you will notice times when you actually do have to get relatively closer to your opponent to get these shots to hit. However, overall, and I'm going to break this down for you guys, these nerfs are good things for us. Why are they good things for us? Because if you are here on my channel right now, you're the kind of person who's watching YouTube videos on how to get better at Fortnite. That automatically puts you in I don't know about the top 1%, but at least the top 5% of all Fortnite players who play this game, because I can guarantee you that all the people who download this game this season, who play this game this season, less than 10% of them are going to watch a single YouTube video on how to get better at it, and less than half of those people are going to watch a smaller channel like me, who's going to give very specific, very detailed niche tips on how to win in this game, because as you can see, we've got 1,500 subs. Shout out to y'all. Thank you so much for letting us pass 1,500. That's amazing, but 1,500 is small on the grand scheme of things. So know that only about 4,000 people saw our last video, about 3,500. Maybe it goes up, maybe not, but about 3,500 people saw our last video. So know that less than 5,000 people know what this exact strategy that we've given out. Maybe they figured out themselves, but they haven't heard it from us, and they don't know our exact thoughts and details behind it. So basically what I'm going to do right now is run down the strategy for you, how to win still basically every single game, and I'm going to point out the details that we need to change now compared to where we were before. So we still start with blocking, okay? When you find an opponent, you really do want to be blocking their shots, and what I like to do is I find that the item that I hold when I approach my opponents these days is very important. I like to hold the shuri claws to approach my opponents, and I know that sounds weird, not like approach, but when I'm kind of just out generally traversing, I like to have my shuri claws out, because it doesn't tell my opponent anything about what I have in my inventory. It's going to show them my claws, it's going to show them my jetpack, because I'll be jetpacking around, and it shows the auto turret. And the reason why I bring this up is because this season, and right now more than ever, I'm very conscious of not letting my opponent know exactly what I have. I find that the element of surprise is very beneficial here. So say you can be jetpacking around, clogging around, and then as soon as you get into a fight, you then reveal, hey, I've got a shield. That's going to then tell your opponent, okay, now I need to find some way to then break their stance. Something that the opponent may not have had in their brain before, may not have been considering before, and maybe they have a problem with it. If you're very good with moving with your jetpack, they should have a problem with it. So I like to, claw around, jetpack around. Once we do identify someone, take your shield out, block with it, kind of get in that, close range to them. But before you get into that close range to them, make sure you are at full jetpack fuel, okay? Do not start fights with low jetpack fuel. I mean, I will even let 2 or 3 little ticks come back right now if I can. Any little advantage possible I find to be very important. Now that the jetpack fuel consumption has been increased so much in the hover and in the boost, you really want to do everything possible that you can to just have more fuel than your opponent at all times. That's why carrying the shuri claws is so important, so that when you do inevitably run out, you are not in a situation where they can just hover over you and just rain shots down upon you. So it's basically, once you I like to put on 2 fronts. It's almost like I put on oh my god, I'm a very weak player, I'm not going to really do anything, I'm just going to hover around and dash around and use my auto turret and blocking, and that's all I got. And then your opponents, if they are using regular weapons, they're going to have to reload. When they go to reload, that's your chance to attack. Switch to your Iron Hands, Iron Repulsors, and just start firing. At that point, it's all good. Let them know what we got. We got trouble for them. All good. If they they themselves have the iron hands, what I like to do is a very similar thing, just kind of like we talked about last time. Count their shots, wait until they have then, you know, just blasted your shield a ton or blasted around you a ton. At the most, they're going to probably maybe hit you once or twice. They'll probably hit the shield a bunch of times, and then they're going to probably miss a lot as well. So I've noticed that because of the increased 15% that you need to kind of aim a little bit more, it's a lot easier to dodge around players and get them to miss shots. And it's also a lot easier to simply absorb shots with your shield. The new 30 to 24 helps a lot. So our stance is getting broken a lot less now. So that's been amazing. Really been enjoying that. You really can't just kind of like outplay people with the shield again. And keep in mind, during this entire process, the auto turret will be doing damage to them. So if they're shooting you with hands and you're blocking with shield, auto turret's getting them. The only time that you can be doing this instance and they're not taking damage from auto turret is if they themselves are blocking with shield, in which case you then would switch to hands and then get, you know, try to get elevation, blast them, or at the very least just apply pressure, you know, slow, concise aiming and shooting and really trying to hit that shield, because as we said, you cannot just blast through the shield anymore. You cannot melt it anymore. And even if you could, when the stance is broken, if you know you use all your shots, you're not going to have enough left to actually kill the person. So you're going to want to go like tick, 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 because the shield blocking damage is similar to an overshield in that its block will not come back. You'll see the reticle, you know, kind of like go away, and it will not come back if it keeps taking damage slowly over time. So if you keep hitting it in that kind of pace, not just boom, 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 then you will get to whittle it down, and you will, you know, especially with the auto turret doing its work as well. This ties into something that we talked about in our last video as well, but because the damage reduction has occurred in the iron hands, we now need to be even more careful and more accurate and more deadly with our unibeam. And I know we talk about not unibeaming, and it's a very important thing to never really unibeam if you are ever expecting your opponent to get out of the car or to pop around their corner and blast you. And I use the car as my leading example because I don't really ever use the unibeam against anyone other than car players who are running around. Once again, guys, I don't always like to specify, but some videos I make, I have background footage just kind of going on because, you know, it's nice to have Fortnite background footage on in a Fortnite video. But in some videos like this, you know, in the last few weeks I've had to say this, or the last few videos I've had to say this, pay attention to the background footage. I will try to link it up, you know, with the part I'm talking about right now, but watch the footage right now. I should be unibeaming people out of the car a ton. I think I have like at least 5, 6, 7 clips where I just unibeam someone out of the car either for the victory royale or just to kill them, because the reason why this is happening so much more now is because of the damage reduction. It's because players are getting a chance to simply be at sub 90 HP more frequently, where before they were just kind of getting melted with the hands. You know, you weren't really getting a chance to actually fight back. You weren't really getting a chance to get in your car. You were just kind of getting destroyed. And that can still happen. And one other quick trick that I've been doing recently, people who've been watching this stream have seen this, is if you don't necessarily think that you can deal with someone's car in a particular way, say you don't have the iron hands yet, say your unibeam is recharging, whatever, you can very easily these days, say you kind of like approach someone like you're going to fight them, but then you don't fight them. You just dash in and steal their car and then just kind of like drive off somewhere like 20, 30 meters away, boost, get out of the car, let that car boost away 150 meters, and then you just, you know, jetpack right back into the fight, and now they don't have a car with which to escape. I've done that a few times as well. I'll try to link those up as well, but it's hard for me to link every clip with everything that I'm saying. But yeah, hitting those unibeams very important. Once again, if you weren't here watch the last video, guys, I swear. But you know, the quick little tips about it: you want to be above them, you want to be at about a 45-degree angle, kind of aiming downward, and you want to aim for the driver's side when they are of course in the driver's seat. Sometimes you will see players sitting in the passenger side of a car, and the reason why they do this is because if you are sitting in the passenger side of a car, of a two-seater, of any car, I guess, you will not give off the car driving indicator. You know, the car won't be on/driven, and that you basically just want to aim wherever the opponent visually is. Usually 9 times out of 10 that will be the driver's side, especially if they are driving away. But once again, that's the only time you ever really want to unibeam. Be very careful to not accidentally unibeam. The way that you accidentally do it with our loadout is you click the ADS button to block with the Captain America shield. I do this a lot. I will also be switching between Captain America shield and the iron hands a lot to attack. So you want to make sure that you let go of the ADS button if you are ever switching and going into attack mode. Like, it's very, very easy to not let go of that. You switch into iron hands and you lock in the unibeam. You can't switch out of that. So be very, very careful about that. It's got me killed several times, even post last video, between that last video and this video. So the reason why I said earlier, and I'll kind of just break it down a little more, that I think these nerfs are a good thing is, once again, you're trying to get better at the game. Not everyone out there is going to be trying to get better at the game. And it's very difficult to play well in the moment. It's very difficult to like keep in mind, you don't want to just be flying around in the air. You want to be jetpack. You want to dash quickly, slightly above the ground, hit the ground, slide for a bit, maybe jump once and then slide again, and then jetpack again. You don't want to just be floating in the air, because that's how you waste all your fuel right now. And not everyone is going to be smart enough to do this. Same thing with the hand. Now, the big thing about the hands before, let's talk about that a little bit, is they were very, very good at melting bots, very, very good at melting bad players. And then when you would get into a fight with with like, I've been kind of thinking about it this way, and hopefully you guys can deal with like this analogy or metaphor, however you want to word it. But say, I'm going to use myself as an example. I felt like pre-nerf, you know, even like, so maybe right now I'm even a little bit higher, but say pre-nerf with the setup, you know, we would use of Iron Hands, the jetpack, turret, shield, and claws. I gave myself a rating of about 9 out of 10. I felt like I could use that to about like the 9 out of 10 effectiveness. Like I was about a 90% player. There was definitely room for me to improve. There were definitely players out there that were better than me, but I felt like I could basically compete with anybody at any given time. And the big problem with where the hands were was if I came up against a player who was like, say, 7 out of 10 or below, smoked them. Eights and 9s were a tough fight. And 10s I usually lost to, okay? So like that's how it kind of broke down before. Because the good players, it was like a really close, like kind of 50-50 situation. And the players better than me were just the players better than me. They were faster, they were more accurate. Even with the auto aim, like it still do have to aim, and you still can be more accurate. You can still aim for the head, you can still be further away, leading your shots, aiming, like, you know, killing players from further distances. There are ways to be better with this loadout. And I now feel that since the Iron Hand specifically has been nerfed, that the damage has been less, like the DPS has been lowered, not significantly, but like pretty good, because the headshot multiplier going from 45 to just was basically like if you hit a headshot you got 45 damage before. Now you still get just 20, was it 24? So like that's almost half. That's almost a 50% reduction in headshot, which I felt like was one of the things that the good players were really good at getting. So I feel like I personally am surviving now a lot more against the 10s and the other 9s, and like I'm having an easier time against the 8s, and I'm still smoking the 7s and below. So if you are working at improving, I think this change is good, because it makes it so that the skill gap is now wider at the top. The ceiling has been increased a little bit. You know, before this, the ceiling was kind of low because the items were just so powerful inherently. They had so much just raw damage built into them. And now that you take that away, the fights take a little bit longer. Third parties can occur a little bit more, and you just have to play a little bit smarter. And what goes well with playing a smart fight a little bit longer? An auto turret and captain shield, which are two things that most people are not carrying simultaneously right now. You'll find people carrying them, but not very frequently. Like we talked about last video, once the captain shield got nerfed, most people kind of just gave it up. And I was thinking about this earlier, and I know most people here don't really play fighting games or don't talk about it. You know, it's a Fortnite channel. But say a game like Smash, I played a lot of Smash, played a lot of competitive Smash. Just to give you guys an example, you know, characters will go through things like this. You know, they will go through times of prosperity, they will go through times of getting nerfed and buffed, and, you know, people will pick them up, people will drop them. There was a character in, say, Smash 4, I'm going to use as an example, Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong in the beginning of the game was very, very powerful, and he had a bunch of tricks, and it was, I don't know the nuances, all of them, but I know at one point he got nerfed, and he wasn't quite as good. Same thing with, like, Sheik, and same thing with Luigi. And the players who still played these characters through the nerfs were the ones who ended up not only being the best with these characters, but some of the best players in the world. And it showed that the ones who would only play a strong fighter for their gimmicks, and then they would just move on to the next gimmick and the next gimmick, that was all well and good. But the people who stuck with the one thing and kind of just got better with it were the ones who truly excelled. And for me, I look at these items as the Sheik and the Diddy Kong of this game. You know, the Iron Hand and the Captain America shield, while they aren't looked at as the obvious top tier threat as they once were when the season first came out, I still do believe that they are the best items to use, and the Iron Hands are still unbelievably powerful. And even though people are going to have less success with them now, you're going to hear a lot of like, they're not as good, why do they have to ruin everything? It's like, they're not ruined. Like, the game has actually been made definitely better. Okay, so I want to give you guys a few kind of like random tips, you know, before I leave you off. I know this video is going to be a little long, but there's just so much to do with this setup, with this loadout, that you really need to think about to be actually playing it proficiently. I know I mentioned this last time, but please consider checking by our streams. We will leave all of our VODs up here on the YouTube channel, even though we do stream on Twitch as well, and we stream over on our Pokemon channel as well, free Pokemon giveaway. Why do I mention that? Because we do kind of random things these days through our streams. We will open up Pokemon cards, and we will, you know, give them away as well, and I just like to do that kind of thing. I have my Pokemon channel that I kind of neglect it, so I'll do these things between games while we're waiting for, you know, the match to load up, and sometimes we'll just stop and, you know, open up some packs because it's fun to mix it up. So please consider checking out our streams for that, as well as what I was really saying was all of our games are gonna be up there. You know, our games we leave them up there, and you can see a full game, you can see all of our thoughts. It's tough to post a video of our games, like they don't really get much traction, so please check out our streams for that. But the main reason why I want to bring that up is because you can see all of our real decision making, you know, our drops, our late game, how we handle the boring middle to late game. But I'm gonna give you guys the best tips that I can for overall situations right now. So we were talking before about not getting third parties in the fights taking a little bit longer. So the quickest and easiest way to kill another Iron Hands user right now is to third party them. Honestly, what I call it right now is the sandwich, because players chase players a lot right now. You will see people who are running away and someone chasing them. You want to chase the chaser and you want to sandwich them between, and then that just really puts pressure on them. And the reason why this is really good is because they will have likely already been using a lot of their jetpack fuel. So if you can catch up to them with your Shuri Claws, maybe even do a supercharged Shuri Claw to catch up with them, by the time you get to them, they're going to likely be out of resources and you can just blast them easily. And then you can move on to the person who they were initially chasing, who should likely be low health anyway. The reason why you want to do it this way is also because the person who's chasing is usually the bigger threat. So if you kill the person who's the bigger threat and the person who is like a guaranteed Iron Hand user, that will do a lot for you. So, and then my obvious, counter tip is do your best to not let this happen to you. If you see third parties, disengage on the person who you're chasing. You do not have to keep chasing someone. The circle does get smaller in this game, folks. You will run into them eventually, or they will die to somebody else. You do not need to kill them. If your goal is to win the game, these are all tips, by the way, to win the game. You will get 20 bombs like this. Like, I think I got a 26 the other day with post nerf. Was it? No. 20, I don't know, 4, 23, I don't know. So I still got a mid 20 post game or post nerf. You can still do it, no problem. I got 26 pre nerf. That was my highest kill game ever. Was 26 in solos pre nerf. But you want to make sure that you are trying to win the game, not trying to win that particular fight. That's my biggest tip for there. When you are chasing people, however, keep in mind that the auto turret can hit through cars. So you do need to hit the car at one point to get the auto turret to like kind of activate, just like how you need to get it to activate against a person. So you can do this by either hitting them with the repulsor, by shooting it with a gun, or by just throwing your shield at it and hitting it. But just keep in mind that they will not have any auto tracking with the shield if they are in a car. So you have to like just really aim that thing. But it does 100 vehicle damage though. So if they're very, very low, you can't even blow it up with just a shield throw. And also, you can hit players in a vehicle with the Iron Hand. You just have to aim through a broken windshield or window. So just keep that in mind as well. So you can be hitting them with the hands through broken window or windshield and the auto turret at the same time, meaning running away in a car at times can not even be that beneficial. So, and this isn't even mentioning the pickaxe trick. I know that some people are unaware. I have heard one person in the comments, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. If you're hearing this right now, you know who you are, but they're like, yeah, there's not a lot of people who talk about the pickaxe trick. And the pickaxe trick is basically if you swing your pickaxe before someone gets you, now swing your pickaxe and hold your pickaxe swing button down like the fire button, and then you hold it down the entire time, you never let it go, then you enter a vehicle while someone say drives near you. You can use the jetpack to catch up to them, like whatever, get in the car with them and then point your reticle at the player, usually in the driver's seat, and then the pickaxe will do damage to them 20 tick at a time, and either they're going to get out of the car or they're just going to let the pickaxe kill them because they don't know what's going on. There's a few ways that cars really can just be kind of dealt with right now. That's why I know that we can destroy cars less efficiently than ever with the Iron Hands. However, because we have the Unibeam as well, of course the Unibeam, in addition to that, we have a lot of tricks right now to get players out of cars. That's my main point when chasing people. Also, while we're talking about cars, the shield, I've never talked about this and I've never seen anyone else talk about this, and I only have a few examples and I'll try to put them here, but the shield can bonk the car. And what I mean by that is if you are at the right height, and I found the perfect height is if, say, you are on top of a hill and a car is driving up to you and you crouch down and shield block, the car will bounce off like 60, 70 meters. It'll bounce a hilarious distance and you won't even move. If you're on flat ground and you try it, you may go up in the air, you won't take any damage, and they'll get bounced back a little bit. And then there's different elevations that will have different occurrences. Sometimes you'll get hit, sometimes they'll go really far. But the main point is people like to drive into you with cars. They think it's funny because, they try to get the damage. But if you block them, they feel like defeated. And you can very easily then just apply pressure with hands, break their windshield, start shooting them, and it just puts them in an uncomfortable situation. So I really recommend trying that out. The shield bonk is just hilarious. I don't know what else to call it, so that's what I call it. Another random tip, be careful of the Doom Gauntlets. So the Doom Gauntlets that you get at Castle Doom, I've had a little bit of trouble with lately running into players who have them because there's a few situations where I'm not really expecting like splash damage to go through something, and then I didn't know that the regular attack had I knew that it had splash damage, but I didn't know that this damage like penetrated like walls and ground and like unbreakable cover and all that kind of stuff. So this damage goes through everything. So say one of my prime examples, I don't have footage of it unfortunately, say someone's in a bunker and I know they're down there, I will often just like kind of throw my captain shield at them just to kind of like be like, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna kill you, and I will usually like kind of try to get that perfect angle until it ricochets off the walls and hits them, and then I'll just throw it 5 times and they die, or they run up, and you counter them with hands. So I have had one instance lately where someone put a lot of pressure back on me because they were just shooting kind of the ground in front of me with the Doom Gauntlets, and the splash damage was just hitting me like right through everything, and I was like, wow, this is very powerful. And I had another instance lately immediately where I just died. Not die. I didn't die immediately, but it was because of this damage that I died. You know, someone was just hitting me through walls inside of a building. You know, in a building, like just right through the wall. Through the wall, the splash damage goes through. So the Doom Gauntlets are actually worth fearing a little bit, especially in closer range. And that's honestly going to be it. I know it's a pretty long video, as always. Keep in mind, everybody, the value of things has kind of shifted a little bit. You know, the value of the jetpack, turret, and shield have kind of gone up a little bit. The value of the Shuri Claws in retrospect to the jetpack has gone up. Because the jetpack itself has been reduced in its overall efficiency, the Shuri Claws value is now increased. Because the hands have been reduced in damage output, the auto turret's value has gone up. The shield's value has gone up. So just consider that the dynamic of our loadout is kind of shifted in terms of before it was like, honestly, if you had the jetpack in the hands, you could just run the game. Honestly, the jetpack in the hands could just run the game. And now you really do want to have the full loadout and make sure that you are as proficient as possible, as safe as possible, and you are handling every situation, you know, blocking first, all the stuff we talked about in the beginning of the video. I'm not going to repeat it here. Go back and watch the beginning if you forgot it, but make sure that you're doing it all safely. And guys, I've been having some of the same, you know, results. I didn't talk about it in the beginning of the video, but I'm at 32% win rate right now on solos over the season. And my last 7 days is like just under 50%, but like we had it at 55% for, you know, a couple days ago. So I'm not sure how, you know, it moves. It shifts around, like it covers 7 days, you know, so maybe my last 7th day was like not the best day, but it covers 7 days and I was at 55% for one of these 7 days, which is insane. So the strategy still works. It worked incredibly well, and I think it worked even better than before. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. Please give us a like, comment down below what you think of the changes. If you agree with me that you think these are good for the game and good for us overall, and I just want to know your thoughts overall. Yeah, thank you so much. Love you all. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.